Hi friends! I am so glad to get to be with you again this year, even though it's still through a screen. The good news is we get to have art every week. And this year we get to have art around some really exciting themes. Each month I will be bringing you 4 new art projects based around the awesome character traits that you talk about at school. And we are going to create art around these themes in these books. Your teacher has passed out either one of these or one of these. They're the same, just a different color. And these are art journals. Art journals are a little bit different than a regular journal. You might know of a regular journal as a place where you write down all your thoughts and feelings. Art journals are a place where you get to create artwork. You get to write words if you want. We get to paint and draw and explore. And then at the end of the year, you're going to have an entire book that has all of your artwork from the whole year in it just for you. So this is what we're going to create our art in. And this is the theme for the month that we're going to create our art about. We're going to create art all about courage. And we're going to learn about courage by reading some books. Now, I'm going to show you the first book for the month because each week we're going to talk about a different aspect of courage. This month, we're going to talk about probably the best kind of courage there is to have in the art room. Do you know what that is? It's the courage to make mistakes. Sometimes we're really, really afraid to make mistakes. We're afraid to read aloud in front of the class, or to write a paragraph with too many mistakes, or to ask to get to play kickball with that group of kids that you don't quite know well, or we're afraid to try the art project because we think we're not going to do a very good job. Well, I think it takes courage to try things that are hard where we might make mistakes. And in art, I'm going to encourage you to have courage to make mistakes. And we're going to learn about that through one of my favorite books of all time. This book is called Beautiful Oops. You might look at the book and roll your eyes and say, Mrs. Burke, that looks like a baby book. But guess what? It's not a baby book. In fact, all of the books that we'll be using this year are illustrated picture books. But illustrated picture books aren't just for babies or little kids. They're for big kids and grown-ups and teachers and your art teacher. Each one of the books we look at each week will have a great message for us, but also will give us the inspiration for our artwork. So join me as I read the book, and then we'll start creating in our journal together. A Beautiful Oops by Barney Satlzberg. Beautiful oops. Oops, a torn piece of paper is just the beginning. Every spill has lots and lots of possibilities. Bent paper is something to celebrate. A little drip of paint lets your imagination run wild. A scrap of paper can be fun to play with. A smudge and a smear can make magic appear. A stain has potential. What do you think that's going to turn into? If you play with its shape. You can even imagine what you would turn that into. Holes in your paper are worth exploring. It's hard to see this one up close, but there's all sorts of fun things inside of those holes. When you think you have made a mistake, oops, sometimes we want to crumple our paper. Think of it as an opportunity to make something beautiful. I'm going to flip back through really quickly just so you can see again all of the things that were made from mistakes. Torn paper became an alligator. A spill became a pile of puppies and then an elephant. Bent paper became the beak and head of a penguin. Drops of paint became a pig and wheels on a car. Torn paper became the face of a dog. A smudge and a smear became a rabbit going fishing. A spill of hot chocolate became a frog catching a fly. Holes became a way to explore new shapes. And a wadded up paper became a fuzzy little lamb. Weird. So are you ready to make some mistakes with me? We are going to create inside of our art journals today a really fun piece of art by making some mistakes. We're going to rip our paper, we're going to poke holes in our paper, and we together are going to create what I like to call an Oops-i-saurus Rex. You can call yours whatever you want. But we are going to create a three-dimensional pop-up piece of art by messing up our journal. Isn't that so fun? We're going to start by messing up and create something fun together. So all you need for this project is pencils or colored pencils or crayons or markers, whatever you have nearby, a glue stick, and your journal. Let's get creating. All you need for today's art project is your journal, some crayons, and a glue stick. Some of you have a black journal, some of you have a brown journal. Doesn't matter, they're all the same. They just come with different colors. I like to dump my crayons out of my box because I don't like to have to keep reaching in and trying to figure out what color is which. That's up to you and up to your teacher. We're going to go ahead and start using our journals today. We're not going to do anything on the cover. We're going to save that for another time. You're welcome to write your name inside if you want. And we're not going to use the first 2 pages because at the end of our year, we're going to make a table of contents so that we can go back and find all of our cool artwork. So flip 1, 2, and we're going to start on page 3 of our journal. We're also, actually, we're going to keep it this way first, and we're going to tear the very first page of our journal because we're going to start the year by making a mistake. That way we'll know the rest of the year, if we make a mistake in our art journal, we can turn it into something beautiful. Even if you want, you can say oops with me as we tear our journal. Now we're not going to tear it all the way up. We're going to pinch at the bottom of our page, pinch with one hand, and then with our other hand, we're going to pinch just a little bit of the way up. What we're doing is we're creating the mouth of our Oops-i-saurus Rex. So this is what my journal page looked like at first, and I ripped part of the way up. Then I flipped it open so that I could create my whole Oops-i-saurus Rex there. So now that I've got this ripped, I'm going to turn my journal this way, and I'm going to flip it up like this. I'm trying to see if I can get these both on camera. It's kind of hard with the way that this is. I'm going to keep this guy on his side just so that we can see him, even though he's not going to be, even though he's going to be sideways, at least we know where we're headed. All right, so we have this page up here, and it's all ripped, and that is awesome. Let's rip off this corner too. Take this top, and let's just rip a little piece off. And we're going to keep our ripped pieces because we're going to use those later. So I'm going to rip a piece there, and then I'm also going to rip down here like this and rip a piece there. Notice, they don't have to be a perfect size. We just ripped the corners off of that piece of paper and we ripped a spot in the middle. Then I'm going to take this page and I'm going to pinch this bottom corner right here. And I'm going to rip slowly all the way up to that corner. So I have a piece that looks like this. We're ripping our tail. So our Oops-i-saurus Rex has a tail on one page and the head and body on the other page. So that rip that I just did was this part of the tail. Now I'm going to rip this corner off here. So I'm going to come up and just rip a little bit like that. Now I might want to make my tail a little skinnier. So I'm going to come back and rip a little bit more, maybe a little bit more. It's your tail. You can make it however you want. There. So now I have a tail and the beginnings of a body. There's really no more ripping that we have to do. Now we get to create. So let's look at our dinosaur for a minute. He's really just some simple shapes. His top of his head is like a rainbow. The top of his body is like a rainbow. Don't pay attention to that grass yet. I'm going to teach you how to do that. The bottom of his head is an upside down rainbow or a U. We have another U or upside down rainbow there and a C right there. And that's it. Then we get to decorate and have fun. So let's make the head together first. My first dinosaur, I'm going to move this down so we can see them both. My first dinosaur was orange and red, so I'm going to make this one a blue dinosaur. So starting over here, let's actually go ahead and color in the lips a little bit so we remember where they are. This is going to be the mouth of our Oops-i-saurus Rex. I'm just going to take my crayon and just kind of go along that so I remember where my mouth is. Then I'm going to pick my dinosaur color. And I'm going to start over here and I'm just going to make a big bump for the top of the dinosaur's head. Go ahead and make a big bump. Remember, if it's helpful for you, you can always do an invisible drawing first. So you use your finger first to imagine where your line is going to be, and then you can follow it with your crayon. Now notice, we're not using pencils, we're not using erasers, because we don't care if we make an oops today. We don't care if we make a mistake. Maybe your bump looks more like a squiggly lump. Well, that is going to make for a cool dinosaur. In fact, I'm going to just kind of make mine a scribbly lump right there. All right, let's do the back of the dinosaur, which is just another, I think I might make this one even squiggly too. I kind of like that oops. So we're just making another hump that goes all the way down to the edge of the paper. So go ahead and take your crayon all the way down. Now let's make the bottom of the dinosaur's mouth. I'm going to start here at the front of his lips, and I'm just going to scoop up right underneath that top one. Then I'm going to make his belly and his bottom leg. I'm going to make a small little U for his belly, and then a big swooping C for the leg. So a small little U for the belly, and a big swooping C for the leg. I made mine kind of like a T-Rex with those little teeny tiny arms. And that was just a line with a big W that has too many bumps. And I can connect those, a line with a triple W, and connect those bumps. Let's give him a foot. All I did there was just a little oval at the bottom. This is nothing fancy. And then his tail is going to come all the way down onto the other side of the paper. So I'm going to just make a wiggly tail all the way down inside of my ripped piece of paper. And now I have the tail for my Oops-i-saurus Rex. Now he's got a C so that he can hang out with the other dinosaurs, I guess. So I'm going to do a big eyeball like I did on this one because I think that just makes him fun. And again, we're using some basic shapes. A rainbow, and a couple of circles here. But before I do that, I might take one of my sharp crayons and poke a hole. I'm going to just poke a hole right in the middle of my paper. If you don't have a sharp crayon, you can go ahead and use a pencil for that, or you don't have to poke a hole at all. But I kind of like how the hole here gives us that white shiny part when it shines through the other piece of paper. So around, let's see, I don't want a blue eye. I'm going to pick a new color now. I'm going to do a circle around that hole for the iris part of the eye. And let's see, my black crayon has gone missing, so I'm going to use gray. I'm going to do another circle around that hole for the pupil part of the eye. I'm going to color in my eyeball a little bit here with some wiggly marks. And then I'm going to get that great big eyelid. I'm going to go back and use my blue again. I'm going to draw a big rainbow. And another big rainbow. I used a different blue. And then I'm going to draw another C down here, one of those little half circles. So following even the same directions, I have a different shaped dinosaur on this one, don't I? I think I want to give my dinosaur a little bit more of a smile, and you can do that too. Your dinosaur can have a mean face, your dinosaur can have a happy face. I want my dinosaur to be really happy, so I'm going to add that. Now I'm going to show you how to build the rest of your pop-up here, and then we can color and color and color and create all sorts of fun things on our dinosaur. Now remember that we have some paper that we ripped off when we made our tail, when we cut out the front. So I'm going to just rip some pieces off of that paper and see what I get. Oops, that would be an oops right there. It just hit my camera. With these pieces, I'm going to make scales for my dinosaur's back. Let me show you how I make them so that they're pop-ups. You take one of these pieces of paper and you just make a little fold at the bottom. Then you take your glue stick, put a little bit of glue just on the folded part, and then stick it right on the back of the dinosaur. I'm going to do that again. Notice, I don't care that they're not the exact same shape. Fold the bottom piece, a little bit of glue, stick it on. Ooh, I have an idea, something that I didn't do on my last one. The great thing about this project is that our dinosaurs can all look so different. Now look at this one. It's going to be hanging out of my journal, and I actually really love that. Our journals are going to be full of paper and design and textures and things that hang out, so it's totally fine if it hangs off the paper. As I was doing that one, I was thinking, ooh, how fun would it be to have one. Let's see, I think I want a different piece. I'm going to make one. Ooh, yeah, I like that. This guy is going to have one off the top of his head. There we go. So I've got some scales that stick up, and I thought it was really fun to make a tongue. You could make teeth or a tongue, whatever you want. Another little ripped piece here. Now this time I'm going to get sneaky, and I'm going to glue it on the back side. So I'm going to make another fold. This time I'm going to put the glue on the inside, like the inside of a book. And I'm going to stick it right there and fold it out like that. Ooh, his tongue goes a different way. And see how this guy's tongue is kind of curly? You can just take your paper and curl it around your crayon, and you have a curly tongue too. You could make wings for your Oops-i-saurus. You could make scales. You could make all sorts of things just by ripping and folding and sticking. Well, my Oops-i-saurus Rex is an herbivore. That means he eats plants. And so I made some plants growing up in the grass down here. You can do the same. You can just rip some more little pieces, and it's exactly the same thing. Fold, glue, stick. I'll do a couple more. That one's going to be interesting. Fold, glue, stick. And I like to do things in odd numbers. So I'm going to do 3 here. Fold, glue, and stick. So now we have a super fun Oops-i-saurus Rex who needs a lot of color. And this is where you just get to do whatever you want. I poked some more holes in my Oops-i-saurus Rex and made spots where those were. I made stripes for the tail. I made wiggly stripes. I made polka dotted stripes. I colored the sky. I colored the grass. Really anything you want. You can color your Oops-i-saurus Rex any way you want. You can even, watch this. I'm going to crumple up the tail on my Oops-i-saurus Rex and smooth it back out. Let's see, I'm going to crumple it even more right here. Smooth it back out, and then when I'm going to take the base of my crayon, when I rub over it, I'm going to get some cool looking textured dinosaur skin. I might decide that I want some neat looking spots on his tail, and I could go ahead and rip and stick some of those on, color them a different color even. The sky is the limit when you get to play with your mistakes. So I'm going to get to coloring mine, and I want you to spend some time continuing to create your Oops-i-saurus Rex. Rip stuff, fold it, glue it on. Make whatever you want out of your mistakes, and then let's get the whole thing full of color. A sky, maybe some ground. Color all the different parts of your Oops-i-saurus Rex. I can't wait to see what yours looks like. Did you make an Oops-i-saurus Rex? I think it's so much fun to create from our mistakes. And here's what I want you to know. It takes courage to be willing to make a mistake. Did it feel weird when I asked you to rip your paper? Or when I asked you to maybe crumple up the tail? But it turned out okay, didn't it? And I want you to know that in your schoolwork, in your home, in your art lessons, I want you to be brave enough to make some mistakes, because sometimes our mistakes can be turned into something beautiful. I love being with you this week, and I'm so thankful that we get to draw together even when we're apart.